Every year, millions of people worldwide spend billions of dollars on music, theater, sports, and other live entertainment. From metal to monster trucks, rap to wrestling, kids to country, Pushing Cases is dedicated to all of the people on past, present, and future road crews that make sure the show always goes on. Check it! On this episode, we're pushing cases with What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Today, we have a good friend of mine, Mr. Ryan Floyd. Welcome. How are you, sir?
Yeah, happy to be back in hotels, I'll tell you what.
Yeah, right on. Well, how long has it been since you were last in a hotel working?
I've been back to work for maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 months.
Okay.
You know, things are starting to pick up. It was sporadic at first, and now it's starting to be more constant. So,
Excellent. Before you
yeah, I mean,
got out, how long had it been?
I I did my last show on March 8th of 2020, and I hadn't done a road job until I want to say June or July of 21. That was a year and a half.
Wow.
Easy.
All right.
Yeah, it was a shift for sure.
Now, before that, how long had you not been working on the road?
What, before COVID?
Yes. What was the longest period of time you had
Oh,
been out
oh,
of work?
I don't know, a month maybe.
Right.
Since I started in 2007, I probably hadn't had more than 4 to 5 weeks off at any point in that entire stretch. So,
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'll let Ryan tell a little bit more about his story, but Ryan is one of many road crew members out there, making sure all the live entertainment gets from place to place, up and down, in and out, and the way it's supposed to, entertaining fans all over the world. So thank you for being here. Let's, if you will, just go ahead and give us a little intro and tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the business.
Right. Well, like a lot of people get into work, my father does this line of work. He was a local stagehand in Detroit, Michigan.
Okay.
And I went into the union when I was 18, right out of high school. Didn't really have a plan,
Oh, wow. All right.
and just started working locally. And then you just kind of see these road guys coming in and out with these shows, and you're like, wow, that seems pretty cool. You see them on and off the tour bus, and
Right.
you're like that annoying kid that's like, how do I get on the road? How do I get on the road?
All right.
So just kind of pestering guys, and before you know it, you meet, somebody gave me a shot, and I was in Europe with the Rolling Stones for my first tour.
No way.
And yeah, so got this phone call 3 weeks later. I'm in Europe prepping a show for the Stones, and yeah, that was it. That was 3 months, and then led to another tour that spanned for 3 years, and then it just kind of, you just keep getting work and work, and before you know it, 15 years later, still doing it.
Still doing it. Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So you started with the Stones.
That was my first tour. Yeah.
An amazing first tour, huh?
Yeah, it was pretty surreal. I mean, I thought the guy was joking when he called me, but yeah, I didn't even have a passport, and you get a call to tour in Europe, and you obviously want to do it. It's the Rolling Stones, but hey, I don't have a passport. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm supposed to fly in 7 days. Normally, even expediting takes 6 weeks. So,
Right.
the production manager's like, I'll have a lawyer contact you. I'll sort it out, and like 2 minutes later, I get an email, send in all my info, blah, blah, blah. 4 days later, bam, passport at my house. Like, just what is going on, Yeah.
That's crazy. We have a similar story actually on the purple one. Uh, I I didn't have a passport, and we were going to Mexico,
Okay.
and And sure enough, me and two other people were flown to Austin 5 a.m. so we could be at the state capitol, and we had it at 5 p.m. that day. I don't
Jesus.
know how that happened, but yeah, it was a long day.
I bet. Yeah.
Sure enough, yeah, it happened.
Like strings were pulled.
Yeah, it happens, doesn't it? All right,
Yeah.
so and then how long were you on that first tour?
That was 3 months. I mean, we went all over Europe.
All right.
You know, it was surreal, man. Like I'd literally never been out of Michigan, but like to Disney World, you know, when I was a kid. So yeah,
Wow.
I mean, like a month later, I'm on a stage in Russia, just like, what the heck is going on, you know?
Wow.
So yeah, that was a good time. Good memories on that.
All right. So what other acts have you worked for besides?
I did a tour with right after the Stones. I went and did Walking with Dinosaurs. So it was a kids show,
Oh yes,
like
I
a
think
animatronic kind of life-size dino puppets going around.
absolutely. Did you work with Casey Ross?
I did.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I worked with him on Bob the Builder.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. I
go
love Casey.
go on. Now, hopefully, I'm gonna have him on the show as well.
Yeah. Good guy. He's making whiskey now in
Yes,
Colorado.
he is. I
Yeah.
can't wait to talk to him about all that. Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely.
He's always doing cool stuff, man.
Yes, he's a
Yeah. I
great.
drove the T-Rex on that tour for about a year. That was
Oh, you
interesting.
did what on that tour?
So they had like dyno drivers where like you sit like
Yes.
in a little car and you got a little joystick and you drive the dyno, and then there's a puppeteer like way up in the house and he kind of controls the body, you know.
Remote control.
Yeah, it's like it was like a wireless thing, like
Oh, okay.
they could just make it do whatever they wanted.
No.
And yeah, I got to drive the T-Rex, which was pretty cool.
Okay.
So I used to joke like I was the star of the show. Obviously, no one knew who the heck I was, but
You know.
stay behind the scenes, you know.
Right. Yeah. I drove Scoop on Bob the Builder.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was
Yeah,
considered.
Rocky was out there too, Casey's
Yep.
brother, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, he was on Dinos with us too, man.
Okay. I
Yeah.
didn't realize Rocky was out there too. I have to get
Yeah.
him on the show. Back to Rolling Stones. What were you doing on that tour?
I was like of a group of like 11 carpenters. I was like number 11.
Okay. Okay.
So building the stage.
Uh-huh.
We had these like big scenic like fascia panels that were kind of like ribbons that went up, and you know they had lights in them that made them different colors and stuff. So
Okay.
I did one side of the stage hanging all that fascia, and you know that was a pretty big task. The stage was huge, and you know it took 11 of us to do all these little parts to do it, but that was my part. And you know, pretty much worked from 8 a.m. to probably 7, 8 p.m. on load in day. And then he came in the next day for show, worked all day and then all night to load out. And, you know, you do that three shows in a row sometimes. And
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And then on to the next city.
On to the next city, you
Were you
know.
doing overnights? Once you drive and then wake up in the next city,
Yeah.
you're going again.
Yeah, you get on the tour bus at 3 a.m.
Uh-huh.
You know, you wake up at the venue, you get 4 hours sleep, and then bam, doing it again. And you know, you do that for 3 shows in a row, and then you'll get a day or 2 or 3 off, you know, somewhere. So
Get to enjoy some of the perks of being on the road, right?
right, yeah, like sleeping on your days off.
That is a commodity, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you get out sometimes, you know, you have a couple days off, you know, you can go check out Paris, and you know, by the 6th time you've been there, it's like seeing the Eiffel Tower, I'm good, you know.
Wow. Okay.
So-
So tell me something that you saw or did on that first tour on the Stones.
Oh man, that was so long ago. We
that
went
memorable.
we were doing a show in Sweden, and we had a day off, and a bunch of the guys rented a boat to go fishing, like chartered a boat. So like 5 of us went on a boat and caught some fish, and the Swedish dude took us to some island and chopped up the fish, and cooked it up for us, and just one of those things like, wow, this is pretty cool. um
Taste of the locals.
yeah, taste of the locals, do all that stuff. As the years go by, you do less and less of that because you it becomes more like going to your favorite restaurant and stuff like that. But like you can only see the scenes so much, and
Sure.
you go back to these cities every year, 2, 3 times. So yeah,
It gets to be the cycle of hotel, gig, hotel, bus.
yeah, it's not as glamorous as people think. Yeah,
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah, a lot of hard work, right?
yeah. I mean, the hours are long. It's fun, but you're tired, and it takes a lot of hard work, and it's a challenge. Just in the beginning of a tour, it's more of a challenge than, once you get rolling, it's kind of like, muscle memory, but just it's that beginning figuring it out phase where, you could be like, well, how is this going to happen? Are we going to be able to do this? You always do, but um,
Sure. How does that work?
what do you mean?
Do you
Like when you're starting a tour?
together, uh, and all of a sudden you've got on the Stones, what, 30 plus trucks or something like
Oh,
that?
that one was 42.
Okay.
And that was just the production. So we'd go in with 42 trucks on load-in day, but they had already done 20 some trucks of steel, day
Ahead
for
of
a
you.
week to build the structure to
How
put
many
everything
trucks
on.
was that?
I don't know exactly, but I know it was up there. They had 3 different I mean, it was so long ago, but
What was the number of crew?
on the Stones,
Yes,
oh, I think we were at least
you were
we were at
number
least
11 on the
100.
Carpenters, right?
There was 11 carpenters, but total road crew, there's probably 100. There's like 12, 13 tour buses on that thing.
Right.
You know,
And
you got
yeah,
10, 11 people on a bus and a driver.
uh-huh.
So a lot of people on that one.
And so, but still, you're able to get 100 people, like ants, to work together
Well,
and
that's just the
get it
road crew.
in and out. Yeah, that's
That's
just.
not including the local crew. So,
How many local crew would you have?
I mean, on that one, it was probably 100, close to 100 local crew. Now, the road crew, that's including, truck drivers and catering people and.
Sure.
But yeah, you'd have 100 local crew there every day. So you'd show up with the road crew, and like it would be me and one other guy building, what we were responsible for, and we'd get 6 dudes or girls,
Right.
whatever,
Uh-huh.
and just 6 people to help us. So every road crew guy would get a certain amount of local crew to help them do their thing. So you probably have 100, 200 people on stage just working, you know.
And so that's new in every city, right? You got to every time you got to teach new people how to
Yeah.
do a new
Yeah. So
thing
that's
that
kind
you've
of the
never
gig,
seen
you
before.
know. You got the grand plan and the gear for that show, but these people, that's what they do. They set up shows every day, but it's a different show. For me, I go to a different city and set up the same show.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of these local crews, like most of them, these guys are like, oh, I know this gear, but the little tricks and
Okay.
whatever to get it
All
put
right.
together. Yeah.
Um, what were you doing before the pandemic hit?
I was on the Elton John tour,
Okay.
and we were in Australia for like 4 months, tour in Australia.
Okay.
And the pandemic hit, and obviously everything stopped, you know.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, what's more to say about it? We all went home like it was a tour break, and then
Okay.
every tour in the world postponed. So essentially every road guy in the entire world and local crew was out of work, and yeah, we just had to the reality of that setting in after a month, 2 months. You just had to figure out something else to do.
What
So
did you do? What did you do?
I kind of hung out with my family for a few months, about 6 months. I got a 4-year-old boy. He was 3 at the beginning of the pandemic.
All right. All right.
Miles,
Congratulations.
I'm married. I have a
Yes.
wonderful wife and stepson
All right.
and my little boy. So we kind of caught up on all the time we never had together. So that was nice. But then you need money. So I ended up taking a job at Telemundo. I live in Florida. I was
Okay.
working on a game show down there
All right.
called Domo del Dinero. Uh,
Sure.
so it was a job, and
Right.
yeah, it was kind of like a Ninja Warrior type thing,
Okay.
but for Telemundo. So that was kind of neat. And then yeah, did that for a while, and then
Sure.
touring started picking up slowly.
What were you doing on Telemundo?
So it was one of those shows where like the contestants are fighting, like two teams are like battling for money, and they um they had all these like obstacle courses to go through, right? Like we had a pool in the studio. Like when I got there and we were prepping that, like they had like a dirt hole in the floor. Like that's going to be a pool. Like, oh, that's pretty cool. So they like dug this huge hole. Like 4 days later, there's a pool there. And so we'd hang games over the pool and games over here. And, they'd be on a trapeze and then like jump onto like a thing where they got a bicycle wheel over some stuff. And just like physical fitness type stuff.
So you were
Physical,
doing more of
the rigging. I was like
the
hanging
rigging.
those
Got it.
apparatus from the grids.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So what happened was they would shoot all day, and then I'd come in at 5 p.m. when they were done, and I'd hang the next day's games
Okay.
through the night. That
Oh,
was
so
pretty
you
cool.
were working overnights?
I was on the night crew. Yeah.
Oh, and you got a new kid.
That actually worked out great because we'd work from like 5 p.m. to 1, 2 in the morning. I'd go home, sleep till 10 a.m., and then I'd have all day with my kid, and then, you know, on to the night gig. So that was pretty cool.
Right. Normally you don't get that. You're
No,
in a hotel like you are.
no.
Right
It's
on.
usually like we're talking right now. That's what I get with my kid. So,
I hear you. Well,
uh,
and you appreciate. Oh, wow. I remember when I was uh, on the road more regularly, there
I
was
didn't have all
a
that.
calling card. My mom, that was a birthday gift.
Yep.
Here's your calling card.
Yep.
You better call me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the video chat wasn't even a thing when I started touring in '07. So,
Right.
yeah,
So,
it would be tough without it. I'm not going to lie.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
I'm glad I did not have children and a family and a wife
yeah.
then when I was regularly on the road. I still do stuff, and inevitably when you get back, no matter whether it's a day or two or three or more, it's something. Oh,
When that transition from like being on the road to being at home, that's tough, mentally for everybody. It's like they're in a groove, I'm in a groove, then you're all together, and it's like, how does this work? And it's who does what, and
did
it's just it's it's just a different uh always those transitions from road to home to road. It's always there's like a couple days where you're like, oh man, it's like, how do I wash dishes? I haven't done it in 4 months. You know what I mean?
yeah, a drive? I remember
Or drive a car. Yeah, I can't drive for crap.
to drive me. I ride places.
Yeah.
Tell me about, did were you able to keep in touch with other fellow road crew, and how did they handle that? Do you know?
Yeah. So yeah. I had at one point during like the 6 months where I wasn't working before Telemundo,
Uh,
I had like a weekly poker game that we did Zoom and played poker on the internet with a
yes.
bunch of road guys, and
Okay.
just talking about, hey, what have you heard? What's happening? The answer was always like, we're pretty much screwed for the next year.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, you do keep in touch. It's hard to keep in touch because you meet so many people, but guys like Mo Hale, Um, I get a text from him every 3 days, so keep in touch with
Speaking
my
of,
man Mo.
what a great segue. I was
Yeah.
just fixing to go there. Uh, this is how Ryan
How
and I
could you
know
not?
each other. Yeah. Kevin, pardon me. He must be here someplace.
Yeah. What's Mo short for? Kevin. You'd have to know him to.
Uh, oh, I miss Mo. Anyway, yeah, I met Mo
That's my guy.
way back in
Yeah.
1996, and the kid was I was just barely 21,
Yeah.
and I had never been anywhere on the road. I mean, I Dallas was the
Yeah.
farthest I'd ever been from Louisiana, where I grew up, and that's where I lived at the time.
Yeah. So
But
similar to me, it's like,
exactly, yeah. And you know, the first I was an actor, and I was new. I wasn't in the Barney family already, so I definitely felt a little outsiderish. And the night of the opening party at an Italian restaurant, I'm sure you're going to know all these names. I see uh, Harold Barons. I see, of course, Mo. I see Seth Goldstein. I see, you might not know Willie. He's not here anymore. Um, I think Creech and Jim Jim Fitzpatrick were all at and Jake
Jake Berry. I mean, come
Berry.
on.
He was there, right?
Yeah.
And I was standing, and I was just waiting to get a beer, and he looked at me, and looking back on it, the look on his face said, "Uh-oh, this kid is in trouble," because he goes, "You're right." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You see those guys?" I said, "Yep." He goes, "Stick with him, you'll be just fine." And after that, I sure I might have been a little annoying to the boys for a minute, but sure enough, I was just like, okay, what are they doing? What are they doing?
Yeah.
And but they took care of me, Mo.
You got to lean on those guys that have been, I mean, it's intimidating to get into that world. It's not really anything you can really quantify into words. Like, it's like,
My whole background was theater, and then watching it on MTV,
yeah.
watching the time lapse videos,
Yeah.
right? Of the shows going in and out.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And I was fascinated by that. Well, all of a sudden I'm on tour, and the show's over, and I've got nothing to do. Before we had buses, that took a minute. That's a whole nother story. But so I'd hang out in the arena, and I'd sit up in the stands and watch.
Yeah.
And one night Mo was like, "What are you doing?" It's like, I'm just watching. I'm sorry, am I not supposed to be in here? And he goes, "It'd be better if you were down here helping." And I went, "Can I?" And he says, "I don't see why not." And so, boom, I jumped down, and I said, "What do I do?" He goes, "Go here, push that." And from then on, I would
Yeah.
do 2 shows on Sunday, go put my
And load
street
out.
clothes on, and go load out.
That's
It was
awesome.
the funnest. It was the funnest thing. And those boys, and females, it was just like it was a team. The camaraderie, I love that part of it. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely, not every tour, but
Hey, all right, talk about
sometimes you get with a group of people and it clicks, and
it. Okay.
it's like it feels good, just and you get into a flow, and it's like you could start doing something and you don't even have to talk to each other, and you just feel it, you know what I mean? So when it's like that, it's great. Kind of like the Elton crew, man, with Mo. I got my man Lenny, Squid, and Lance.
Yes.
It just clicks sometimes, and that's great. Um, Sometimes you get out on tour and it's like I'm just gonna get paid and on to the next one.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, not all the personalities are always gonna mesh, but for the most part, I've been pretty lucky with the guys I've worked with. I try to keep around good people. That's important to me, who I'm working for and stuff like that. So
Nice.
yeah. Yeah, loading out, the first half hour loadout's always crazy, you know. It's just like chaos, it's like the crowd's leaving, a million boxes come on stage, army of stage hands, and that's really fun, the chaotic, dance of it all.
Mhm.
Especially when everybody just knows exactly where to be, and it's like so many things happening at once because it has to, because you got to get 30, 20, 30 semi trucks filled in 4 hours and on to the next place. So,
Wow.
you know,
Tell me about a time when you didn't think you were going to get that show out or in or both on
man,
any tour, right? Like where you were just maybe the loading dock was flooded. I don't know, or is a hard place,
right,
or
right. I mean,
trucks were late, or I don't know. Tell me if you got a time.
I mean, that's the thing. No matter when the crap hits the fan,
Uh-huh.
it just always happens. Like, it's like they tell you, if I give you 4 hours to build the stage, you'll have it done in 4 hours. If I tell you got 8 hours, it'll take you 8 hours.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So it's like stuff will hit the fan and it just always seems to work itself out. You just figure it out. I mean, I've never loaded in a show and we didn't have a show. Never. That's never happened once, unless like the artist was sick and canceled or whatever. But because of us, it's never been like the road crew couldn't build the show. Like that's never once happened in my career. And I've only heard of it happening once.
What is that?
I can't remember the band, but there was a building where it's just difficult to rig, and maybe the local crew couldn't fill the call or something like that, and it just took forever to rig, and they just didn't have the time to do it, so they had to cancel it. I think it might have been Bon Jovi in a bunch of years back, like in Salt Lake or something like that. But that's a tough building. Um, you know, and you know, those things happen sometimes, but you just always seem to overcome it. Not every building is great to work in. There may not be any storage, but that's our job to kind of figure out how are we going to make this work today here in this building and have a show. I mean, bottom line, that's the goal, and you just got to do it, you know?
That's what this podcast is about, actually. Exactly that. It always goes on, no matter
I
what.
mean, the whole, it's a cliche, the show must go on, but it's like, it's weird. Like you will be having a bad day and you're like, dude, it's never ending. It seems like it's never ending. There's still more to do. And then you get done with this and you're like, oh my, and my buddy Lenny will be like, dude, we actually have all this to do still. It's like, oh, damn it, I forgot. And then you're working all the way up until doors, but like you get that last thing done right before they're like, the doors are open, bam. And you're like, we did it, every time, of course there's some times where you're like, finish early and you got time to nap, those days are the good ones. But
All right. Right. Go
I
ahead.
mean, sometimes it's usually the building that's the problem. The local crews, they all know what they're doing.
Sure.
Road crews, they all know what they're doing. It's just some of these buildings, man, are just challenging to get these big shows into.
Do you find those are the older buildings or the newer buildings?
A
Or
lot of the newer ones, they build them like with concerts in mind, and big concerts. They'll put loading docks and
thinking about it, huh?
storage, and storage is huge. It's all about storage. That's how I judge a building.
Okay.
I don't even care if it has loading docks because I'll forklift everything in and out of the truck. I don't care.
Okay.
If I don't have anywhere to put my empty stuff,
Uh-huh.
because if I have a semi truck full of set carts, when those set carts empty, I still have set carts and they got to go somewhere in a building. And like on Elton John, we have 7 trucks worth of set. So you got to put it strategically throughout the building so that when you're loading out, you could do it fast, and the cart you need is the next cart coming in. You know what I mean? So
Good buildings are keeping that in mind as well, and they got it
dude,
for you, huh? Wow.
oh, totally. Like the new building in Detroit, the Little Caesars Arena, they have a hallway stage left, and it's like 30 feet wide by like 200 feet. You know, you need for fire lane, you need like 5 feet or something like that. So you could just put all your stuff down this hallway. It's like, where's the empties going? The massive hallway, you know.
Nice. Nice.
So
All right.
those are nice. When you walk into a building like that, you're like, it's practically a day off.
Perfect. What about a building that's going to be a bad day?
Well, sometimes you got to put the gear back onto trucks, or you got to put it way outside, or you got to, you know, push it on the carpet to a room like half a mile away, and it just adds time. And
Sure.
you know, and you got to put everything in 20 different places instead of one big huge place. So yeah, I mean, for me it's all about storage, because like the actual building of the stage and all that, once you get like, that's the same every day, right? I'm putting the same deck in the same spot every day.
Yes. Yes. Just different.
But the set carts may go, who knows where they're going? I don't know till I get in the building and they're like, we have this space for you.
Uh-huh.
Well, I need more space. Then you gotta, you know, you
Figure
gotta figure it out.
yeah,
Exactly.
right. Yes, indeed.
But
Right.
you always do,
See,
you
that's
know,
it.
you
That's
always
that's the
do.
name of the game.
And
Right.
it's all about remembering, like you go, oh, okay, I was here on Van Halen and we did this thing where we put all this stuff here and the house moved this stuff and tightened it up. And you got to have that Rolodex in your head of all the venues and all the little intricacies of it.
Okay. Okay. You just do that in the head, huh? Keep that in the brain.
Well, some guys do it, you know, they actually take physical notes and
Do
stuff,
that
and
too.
they'll,
All right.
you know, the day before they'll look at the next building and do that. But like Mo Hale, he's on my team on Elton, and he'll be like, oh, we're going to blah, blah, blah. You know, they got a dock downstage. We can do all our, you know, trucks there. And it's like, how do you remember that? You know, he's just been doing it so long. And
Yeah. I guess that's
I'll
it.
be on other tours without Mo, and he'll text me and be like, how's it going? Did you say hi to Dave, the rigger? And like he knows the guy is just
I can't
on.
wait to get him on, pick his brain too.
Oh, you got it.
Tell me something Mo taught you. I mean, I know that not just something besides everything, but
Yeah.
tell me
Well,
something you use a lot.
yeah. So Mo, you know, on the Elton tour,
Mm.
when he came out, we added a guy, right? Because we just, as we were doing it, it was like, man, we really need another guy on our crew to
Okay.
fill this role. And we brought Mo out, and he he was like, what's with all these labels on everything? You know, we put gaff tape on the cart, and then you just write in Sharpie, and it's 2-inch gaff, and you know, from like 20 feet away you can read it, right?
Uh-huh.
He's like, I want to be able to read that from across the arena floor. So he goes and gets like 6-inch stencil kits, and it's like leg cart, you know, or whatever. Yeah, exactly. Like that. So he's like, you know what? Let's not make it a secret, okay? That's insane. So yeah, I mean, if you look at our carts on Elton, man, it's like, I mean, that guy every day, we're all done. We'll be in Carp World just kicking back, you know, reminiscing about the day, and he's getting the stencil kit out, and he's like labeling more stuff. He's just the label master.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
yeah, I learned that from Mo.
Gotcha. Yeah, he taught me if you're on time, you're late. If you're early, you're on time.
Yeah, 15 minutes.
And yes, yes.
There's always that one guy that comes to the bus a minute before, and everyone, really, you know,
Real, yeah,
we're trying to
really.
go. All right.
I learned that I was not going to be the one that people looked at with the side eye when I got
Yeah.
on the bus.
Yeah. My dad taught me that.
There you go.
Be early.
Yes.
Haven't been late yet in 20 years of doing this.
Mm. Well, I grew up in the country, and Yeah, not that I was late, but we weren't necessarily in a hurry to do a lot of things.
No, you were not.
Yeah. But when I got on the road, it was clear.
Yeah, that's a deal breaker, man. I mean, you could be the best stage builder or lighting guy or whatever. If you're not there,
You can't.
you can't really do a whole lot, you know.
Yeah, right. So, well, if you weren't there, if you weren't on the road crew, carpenter, what would you be doing? Do you think?
Like if I did like after high school, if I did something else,
Yeah, a different career, or after the road crew.
I honestly couldn't tell you because
Yeah,
to be honest with you, I've never done anything else.
I hear you.
So like right out of high school, I had little odd jobs. I worked, the front desk at a dry cleaner and stuff like that,
All right.
but nothing you could live off of as an adult.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I've never really considered any other type of work. And that's what made the pandemic really hard because, you make pretty good money doing this stuff and, you end up getting a house that you can afford because you make a certain amount of money and then all of a sudden there's no work but I still got to pay my mortgage. It's not like I can go to a company that's paying a high rate and be like, hey, I'm a roadie, what do you got for me? It's
Nobody.
not you know
Yeah. Oh,
it's not something that you do that you can really transfer into other lines of work is what I'm trying to say.
yeah.
And it's tough.
You know, I understand that.
Kind of put all my eggs in one basket here.
Hey, it seems to be working out pretty well for you. Um, Speaking of, what are you up to these days? You're in a hotel room right now? Are you?
Yep, I'm in a hotel, so with the age of social media, when you're working these shows, you
Uh-huh.
can't really talk about it. But we're
Uh,
prepping a show and and it's you know, once you do the first show, you can post all the pictures and all that you want.
right, right.
You know what I mean?
Awesome.
But when you're in the prep stage, you might be working on something that's like the Super Bowl halftime show. So
Uh-huh.
when you're prepping that and doing all that, everything's locked down. It's secret.
Right.
If there's a leak, a social media leak, like that's a huge deal these days.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
but I
So
can say we're just prepping a show. It's hard work. Prepping is, you know,
tell us about that.
yeah. So on any show, not even this,
Right.
you you get a plan, okay, and you get the gear and you build it, and then it all changes, you know,
Okay.
and then you got to figure it out,
Of course.
you know. So, they may want the stage to look like this, like on Van Halen. We get the stage from the staging company, and I did a tour with them in I think 2012 or something like that.
Hey, wow. All right.
Yeah. So we get the stage and Dave wanted it all glitter, you know. Like, I want the stage to be glitter. He gets the stage and it's glitter, takes one sits down on it, and he gets like two specks of glitter on his shorts, and he's like, I
Nope.
can't have this glitter. What's with this glitter? Make it all marley. So it's like, dude, that's a lot of work. We have to tear the whole thing down, send it back to the staging company. They got to put a different surface on every piece. So things like that happen in prep, not always with the artist. That was a special case, but
Sure. Sure.
rarely actually with that. But um, things just don't always work out as the plan on the computer, uh, you know, dictates, and you got to make it work in real life. So,
That's the planning stage.
and
So
that for me is the funnest part. Like, and you got to figure out how many semi trucks do I need to actually travel this gear. Like, it's not like you get the stage and and the lighting and all this, and they're just like, oh, that's blah, blah, blah trucks. You have to like physically figure out how many you need.
You guys aren't using math, are you?
You have to measure. You have to measure it and draw it up on a computer
You'll figure.
and figure it out. So there's a lot of planning involved because if you're in 16 trucks, but you could have been in 14 because you could have packed it tighter, you're saving a ton of money by
Right.
losing 2 trucks.
Wow.
So
There.
so yeah, that's the prepping part of it. It's everything's unknown, and you have to. That's when you really, this guy that I worked with a bunch of years back. He said that's when you really learn how to do this work is when you're prepping the tour. Anyone can come in, and I can show them how to build the stage and all that.
Uh-huh.
And that part's more about personality, getting along with everybody and all that. But when you're actually in the part where you're looking at the plans and you got to figure out, I need this here, and that's when you really learn how it all works. And that's the most fun part for me is the prepping, and the most challenging.
And you're in on that prep on the planning stage. This is you're figuring out I need 2 trucks for my gear or whatever.
Right. Like on Elton, when we were prepping that way back in 18, we show up and the staging company's building the stage, and you start adding up all the carts that you got, and we're just like, oh crap, we're in 5 trucks. And then it's like a bunch of more stuff comes in. Oh, you got all this stuff that's going here. And so, oh, there's another truck. And then, but before you know it, you're in 7 trucks, and it's all constantly changing, especially in prep and yeah, it's a challenge because you want to make it as streamlined as possible. You have to keep in mind that you need to have it built in a short period of time. We get stagehands at 8 a.m. I got to roll the stage by 1,
Uh-huh.
that the sound guys can mix the audio, and you don't have all day to do it. You have to figure out how to do a Herculean task in a short amount of time. That's what it's all about.
Well,
Like, I think when a lot of people show up to a show and they see this massive stage, and some of the crowd, they're like, how many days did it take you to set that up? 4 hours.
right. Yeah. Everybody listening to that,
Yeah.
like a couple hours.
Yeah, and a lot of that goes to the planning process with the staging companies. They figure out how to package a huge thing into easily manageable. Those are whiz kids on the computer figuring out how it's actually going to work before it's even built, months before, on the computer. And you got to keep all that in mind. We got to do this quick, have a show, load it out quick, do it again tomorrow, maybe do it 5 days in a row.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, tell me something that you do on the road when you have the time to unwind, to decompress. If you ever have that time, if you don't necessarily have that time, do you take that time? Tell me about it.
Yeah. I guess throughout the years, it's kind of changed how I use that time.
Uh-huh.
Early in my career, I'd like go see the sights and,
Uh-huh.
go party and stuff like that when you're younger.
Sure.
And now it's like, my main thing is like, I want to get the best food. Like if I'm going to Thailand, I want to go get the best Thai food in town. If I go to New Orleans, I'm going to Acme and getting the char grilled oysters, So it's all about the food for me, man. I want to eat all the best food in all the cities. Like you go to Indy, you go to St. Elmo's, the steakhouse, and you get the shrimp cocktail with the horseradish cocktail sauce. So
there you go. The food. Awesome.
Yeah. So
well, Ryan, listen, I know that you're busy. doing something you can't talk about. Can't wait. Hopefully we'll be able to add it in the comments below and let everybody know what that's
Yeah, maybe in the future.
yeah, by the time this comes out, we'll let all that know. In the meantime, we're not breaching any NDAs.
No, and
Not at all.
and it's not a good look to
On
be
top of it, yeah, you why would you want to go enjoy the show?
Yeah, don't be that guy.
We're not going to be that guy.
Yeah.
So I know you're busy, so I want to thank you for taking.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thank you.
Talking
Pleasure.
to us and letting us know a little bit about yourself and your job. And like everyone else, we appreciate you for doing what you do and bringing these shows all over the world. We enjoy it.
Well, it's an enjoyable thing to do. So we like to spread the joy. That's what we're doing.
Be safe out there, safe travel, and thanks for pushing cases.
Thanks, buddy. Take care.